So the last interface I want to talk about is the digital interface, and I think the digital interface really is a culmination of the prior three. The use case, the user, the electrical interface to the electronics interface on the disposable, and then clearly the mechanical, physical interface to a durable. And all three of those combined really are enabling the use case, of course, and the product use. But now with the advent of at home and smartphone enabled devices, those three interfaces then create that fourth digital interface. So clearly you have to pair, or you're pairing, or you're using RFID, you're taking pictures to bridge from the physical to the digital world. And I know you've been working on a project now where the product is app enabled. Are there any what is the most critical part of the digital physical interface in your experience?
Well, I think I'd approach it slightly differently in saying, where can you get the most value from the digitization of the modern world in medical product development? And you touched on it in saying that there's a big move towards at-home medical products now, and everyone has pretty much, for the most part, a smartphone in their pocket now. So they've got significant computing power already prepaid and in their pocket and ready to and for a lot of products, you can get a ton of value out of that for relatively little investment compared to what you may have needed to do to get similar amount of connectivity, a decade or two ago. And so, one product that I'm working on right now is for an at-home a therapy treatment for an acute medical condition. So it occurs, you take the device out, you use it. And we're developing a mobile app for that may include things like instructions for use tracking to know whether you're running low on disposables or something like that. Download of device data, both for improvement over the long term, if the client can use that data to study use cases and consider improvements to the product. And so it's if these devices are already in your pocket, all you need to do is add some kind of wireless connectivity capability to your device. And then, that $600 smartphone can do a lot of the work for you in sending a lot of useful data up to the cloud where it can be accessed by the manufacturer of the device. It's super valuable to both the supplier of the device and the user. So, there's a lot of opportunity there to optimize the experience for the user and add detailed instructions or explanations of what's going on with the device at any given time, maybe progress tracking through your use of the device or something like that. And at the same time, the supplier is getting a lot of value with all the data that they can record from the use and in encouragement of the user to go ahead and get more disposables when they need some, which obviously is good for that supplier's business.
Yeah, no, those are great examples. And I would say, these are interesting times when you consider, interface to the digital world. What you described, the project you're on, it's clear that you're designing the consumable with the digital experience in mind, at the same time. But there are other products out there that have been on the market. Let's call it lateral flow diagnostic test strips, been on the market for decades. And now people are adding the digital interface on top of it, just taking pictures of the lateral flow strip. So, when we talk about the interface, there's another layer here of like, when do you add this interface on? Is it after you launch your disposable or, slightly more complex disposable and get it out? Or do you do it in parallel from the get go? And I think we're not going to get into the strategy here in this episode, but there are different ways to go about doing it, I guess is my point there that I'm seeing in the market.
Absolutely.
The-
Yeah. And it
yeah.
really depends on the volumes for initial launch and things like that as to when you make those investments, like anything in a medical product. But there are plenty of cases where it makes sense to invest in that early and others where you do that much further down the line and add something like a QR code, for example, like those lateral flow test strips to be able to track results on the cloud.
Yeah, but I loved your response, which was where's the value? Where can you add the most value? And I think, that applies, for all the other topics we've brought up here. It's like, Do you want to add a battery to this disposable and add cents? If you're doing 10 million of these products a year, every penny matters. So, where is the value that you're adding and is it worth it?